It's a valid question. I think when we look at the statistics from, I don't know, the last 8-9 years, we see that there is a decline in the consumption of linear channels, but I wouldn't say it's dead yet. At the same time, we see that the hotel chains are kind of mandating casting solutions. I think, isn't it, the top 3-4 chains have it as a brand standard. So content casting is more popular, but I wouldn't say you can cut your linear channels yet. Julian?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that we're a little bit too early. We've got to think about those that don't use that technology right now, don't have it at home, and that might be older generation, or it might be those that just aren't tech savvy. So I think we need to just think about, making sure that we deliver a service for all at the end of the day. And I think taking away linear TV channels right now is just too early.
Yeah, I think as well, nowadays maybe you have as well Chromecast at home. We see that nowadays there is about 30% of streaming media market which is through the Chromecast. We also see more and more use of YouTube, which is about 26-25% overall, and we have Netflix just behind with about 25-24%. So we have a quite big demand, and we now see there is no point of removing all the linear TV channels anyway.
Absolutely. So we're just not there, I think. But it is something to look at. It is something to continue to evaluate, and perhaps in a couple of years' time, it will be something that hotels start to do.
We met a new opening hotel that decided not to put TVs in the room because they felt that guests were bringing their own content on their own devices, and it was 2 weeks before they said, okay, we've made the wrong decision. The complaints were just pouring in at the reception desk each morning.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between not providing linear channels and not providing a screen in the room, not providing a TV. People want to use the content, but they want to watch it on a large screen still. So, and if that's the bulk of the cost, then why not offer it all?
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, I think as well for the new builds, we definitely need to think and keep those linear TV channels. So.
So I think from a point of view of brand loyalty, it's important for hotels to invest in this type of technology. People are using this at home extensively. Their expectation is that when they come to the hotel, they have the ability to use these subscription services and so on like that. So if a hotel is providing them, I think they're going to get more return customers.
But I think it's more and more chains put this as a brand standard. Guests are going to get used to having this service, just like they've got used to having Wi-Fi or getting used to having a TV on the wall. They're going to be used to having a casting service.
Absolutely, and I think more and more that the big brands do it and actually implement it as a brand standard, then other hotels have to follow suit as well.
And as well, it's not only within the hospitality industry. We can see there is kind of demand for like at home experience. We can see it in student accommodation market, for example, because students want to feel like at home. So nowadays we are able to replicate this kind of solution. Technology allows it quite easily, but as well we don't want the support involved to be on shoulders of the site managers. So we want to make it really simple and easy for everybody to understand, to use, even for the end customers. So we are sure not to make any bigger mistakes with them.
Sure. I think this one-step authentication that we spoke about, that when the guest comes in the room, that it's really just one extra step to get them online so they have the secure.
Yeah, the same as you would do at home, in fact.
Exactly.
So, like any type of technology, it seems simple to the guest, and that's important. It has to be very, very easy. But there's a lot going on in the background to ensure the security and so on of the guest's information and what they're watching and so on and so forth. So I think there's quite a lot to go into it, and that's the investment from the hotel's point of view, the technology, the hardware, the software to actually make it work. But once it's there, it is robust. So not much in terms of support required.
Yeah. And I think as long as we can manage, or the hoteliers can manage the support from the front desk and not have to go with the guest to the room, that's a big advantage as well.
Yeah, we're able as well to give them some tools to try to handle by themselves, and if there is really big issues, and yeah, there is every time 24/7 normally. That's the norm today. We have support to help them. So yeah.
It's another interesting point. The guests are bringing their subscriptions with them on their mobile device when they come in the room. They're going to watch that content one way or another. And if they're sat on the bed, then they're using the Wi-Fi to receive that content. If they start casting, I think one of the great benefits is that we can hardwire the cast hardware so that bandwidth is then transferred onto the wired network. So then we're going to offload the wireless network. So I think in hotels where the Wi-Fi is not 100%, this is a great solution to remove a lot of the consumption on the bandwidth and free the bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly. So there is two ways. So, or you get really good Wi-Fi radio coverage with on the 5 gig band, which is the norm for the Chromecast solution, or you can get it wired. But you have to keep in mind as well that you need good bandwidth, because the Chromecast can ask a bit of bandwidth. So we see and we understand it's between 3.5 and 5 megs per user on an HD solution, and around 25 megs for 4K solution. So yeah, it can ask a bit more bandwidth, but with a good fiber and a good gateway, it's definitely worth it.
True. I think we just read, I think it was last week with the launch of Google Stadia, that the gaming platform needs 35 megabit per second. So
and a good latency as well, because otherwise...
For sure. So that's going to be a new challenge for hoteliers if guests are bringing their Google Stadia account with them into the hotel room, which I'm sure is already happening today.
Yeah.
So I think from a practical point of view, in a real world point of view, where we're actually installing these systems, I think we can't guarantee that the Wi-Fi is going to be strong enough unless you've got a partner in place who can actually sign it off and certify the fact that the network is up to providing the bandwidth for these Chromecast devices. Otherwise, our route would be to hardwire those devices.
But ultimately, it's a choice for the hotelier to
Absolutely.
make.
Yeah. I don't actually think that casting is a sort of 4-star, 5-star product these days. Yes, when it was first launched, they were the early adopters, if you like. But we've seen more and more 2-star, 3-star hotels actually saying this is a product we want to deliver, and based on that, we've actually developed a product at Airwave, which is a lower cost TV with Chromecast built in. It's ready to go. You don't have any loose cables or anything like that, and it makes for a very, very affordable way of getting into the Chromecast solution.
True. I think if they're ready for a new TV, that's one solution, and I think we have a huge amount of hotels out there which already have an install base of displays. So I think it's important to note that casting can be retrofitted very easily to the existing estate, and the investment per room is minimal, I guess, because it's just the cost of that Chromecast dongle. And then you have an upgraded offering for the guests.
Yeah, fully agree that the retrofit is probably where we're doing majority of our business right now. So it is something that people are hooking into and saying, I want to have this solution. I want it to be delivered. How does it all come together.
When you get into a guest room, the first thing you see as well is the TV. So you can be really happy or a bit disappointed, I would say, if you see an old TV and if there is no proper solution involved and just normal linear TV channels. So nowadays, if you need a bit of time until you can upgrade your TVs, yeah, you can definitely go for a casting solution, and this will definitely fit with your customers. So yeah, that can be a quick win, I would say.
Yeah, so at least the retrofit lets you kind of satisfy the guest need until there's the budget for that replacement of the TV hardware, which typically is the most expensive part of the whole TV platform.
And what we're even seeing is that that hotels who have invested in smart technology are actually leapfrogging that to provide the Chromecast instead. So you know, they might have a smart TV, but they're actually finding that the apps on the TV are not what the guests are looking for, and that Chromecast actually provides a better solution.
Yeah, you also need to think that with TVs now, you can add more layers. In fact, if you want to discuss, not discuss with your guests, but you can have a in-room directory. So this can as well add some extra revenue for the hotel at the end of the day. So yeah, I think the main point about operation of data is as well to understand for any hoteliers which data is collected, as well how is it stored, for how long, and how do we remove all of this data once the customer is out of the hotel. Because nowadays we can see that with the beauty of casting is in fact the guest brings its own device, meaning he has his own data and nothing is just pushed to any TV or hardware. So everything is logged and kept into the phones of the guest. Yeah, there is also the fact that all the data is stored anonymously and it's fully and totally GDPR compliant, which is nowadays all the words that everybody wants to hear, because it's really the big fact and the big trend to be on at the moment.
Yeah, and I think also that when we look at the Chromecast device itself, when somebody casts to a Chromecast or requests the Chromecast to go and get the content, none of their data is actually stored on the Chromecast itself. And even the authentication process that we go through of connecting the guest device to the Chromecast, when they check out or at a set time of day, that can be cleared down as well.
No, but I think that's, like you said, the whole benefit of casting is that the guest is bringing their own subscription with them. So all their passwords and their usernames are securely stored in the application. So when they're doing the casting, the Chromecast picks that up, but it's not storing those passwords in any way. And I think that's the difference if you offer a native app on a TV and the guest has to punch in their username and password on the TV. There's always the thought in your mind, will that be deleted?
Even though some of them say that after the checkout, everything it's removed from the TV, but still, I think there is a bit of feeling when you have to put your own data on a screen. So I would definitely go and prefer to push my content from my own device instead of putting it somewhere else.